reigns. KLW's on the front line through the battles and the pains, with a camera in the fray and the world on our screens. We're the voice of the silence, the witness of the scenes. Headlines flashing bright, from the shadows we arise, with the truth in our hands under perilous skies. Every story told is a battle we fight. Through the darkness and the fear, we bring the light. In the chaos, in the flames, we'll stand tall, with the courage to reveal through the rise and the fall. From the embers of the war to the echoes of the call, we're the eyes of the world and we'll never stall. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. From the ruins and the wreckage, every story's told. Through the tears and the heartbreak, the bravery unfolds. In the darkest hours, when the world's torn apart, KLW brings the stories straight from the heart. With the cameras rolling through the wreckage and the pain, we capture the reality while the world remains. Every angle, every moment in the line of fire, we're the pulse of the battlefield, never to tire. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. Through the smoke and the ruins, we'll pierce the veil. With every breath we take and every tale, we're the heartbeat of the conflict in the shadowed frail. With KLW's vision, the truth won't fail. Stand firm, we're the beacon in the fray. Through the dust and the fury, we'll light the way. In the fight for the truth, where the heroes lay. KLW, the story's here to stay. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. So here's to the courage and the tales we unfold. In the heart of the conflict, our story's told. KLW, with the truth we hold. In the fire of the war, our legacy bold.
You can't handle the truth.
KLW World News coming to you live. Folks, we lost a legend today. No other than Robert Duvall.
Hey, old man. How's that barbecue? Give me some.
We're busy before we get lost, all right?
What did you say?
Here's a perfect example of what I've been talking about. Since this boy was suckling on his mama's tit, he's been given everything but discipline. And now his idea of courage and manhood is to get together with a bunch of punk friends and ride around irritating folks too good-natured. Put a stop to it.
Who do you think you are, huh?
Just a dumb kid, huh? Don't kill him. Right. Hub McCann. I fought in 2 world wars and countless smaller ones on 3 continents. I led thousands of men into battle with everything from horses and swords to artillery and tanks. I've seen the headwaters of the Nile and tribes of natives no white man had ever seen before. I've won and lost a dozen fortunes, killed many men, and loved only one woman with a passion a flea like you could never begin to understand. That's who I am.
Hey, old man. How's that barbecue? Give me some.
There you go. Got to push the right button. Okay, so there is a lot going on in the world today. We've got stuff going on in Iran. We've got stuff going on in the U.S. And, of course, the fraud never stops.
Mr. Balu, again, thank you for being here. Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the...
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir, could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, when you're using the phrase native Minnesotans, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somali.
And nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here.
Go for it.
Again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again.
All right, now, the Iranians, they really want to start some bullshit. They have said that they are closing the Strait of Hormuz. That would be a bad move for them to do. They did that back before Operating Praying Mantis, and the U.S. Navy sank half of the Iranian Navy in a matter of about an hour or two. Now you'll notice that all of their videos seem like they are CGI, and that's because, well, they are.
یا علی معنی لا قوت الا بالله علی ما شاء الله علی ما شاء الله یا علی علم به دست کیست غیر از آقا علی ما شاء الله علی ما شاء الله به اذن صاحب ما مهدی زهرا بزن ما شاء الله بزن ما شاء الله فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا سلام ای زربان غیرت ما فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا حافظ پرچم و خاک و عزت ما فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا طوفان بخوان تا میدان بخوان ای ایران بخوان ای ایران نگاهت از ایران به دور آمریکا یه شرور میپاشید در غرور انشاءالله خیابان از ظلم تو خون یک کشور لاله گونم ما تو سرنگون انشاءالله این پایان
بازیه این پایان بازیه نفرین به تجزیه نفرین به تجزیه تو آشوب و اختشاش آشوب و اختشاش نقشه کشت سازیه نقشه کشت سازیه اعتقاد نیستم اون که رسانه دشمن ازم میخواد نیستم خونه به دوش نیستم ایران خونه من وطن فروش نیستم هرچمو ببریم بالا بالا سلام نظامی حالا حالا هرچمو ببریم بالا بالا سلام نظامی حالا حالا فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا سلام ای زربان غیرت ما فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا حافظ پرچم و خاک و عزت ما فرمانده کل قوا فرمانده کل قوا
Basically what it amounts to is they've got all kinds of AI. They're claiming they're going to attack the U.S., sink our carriers, and a variety of other out of their mind ideas. The interesting part is they're getting weapons from China, and they're going to use Chinese hypersonic weapons against the U.S. Navy.
When the clock is set for the hour of regret, no shield will be effective. From the depths of the earth, a thunderbolt rises that rearranges calculations of a century. At the time when the sky above the aggressor's bases is torn apart by the mighty roar of the region's most advanced ballistic missile, all defense systems would merely be spectators to an inevitable failure. From hangars fortified by concrete at the heart of the desert to sensitive and strategic centers built deep within the occupied territories, all of them fall within the grip of their deadly precision. Khorram Shah 4, a message that, at supersonic speed, sends shockwaves across the domes and the arrows. An army of heavy warheads that penetrate through layers of defense, turn the silence of the night into an eternal nightmare for the enemy. Here, it is the end of the hit-and-run era. Here, it is about absolute power. But what has made this Iranian giant uninterceptable? Let us delve into the heart of Khorram Shah 4. Khorram Shah 4, equipped with next-generation liquid fuel, is capable of being stored in silos for a long time. With a warhead weighing 1.5 tons, this missile possesses the heaviest destructive power among the world's medium-range ballistic missiles. But the main secret lies in mid-course guidance, trajectory correction outside the atmosphere, where no radar has the ability to track it. Atmospheric re-entry speed, more than 16 Mach, which means before the siren are set off, the target has been erased from the map. Pinpoint accuracy at a range of 2,000 kilometers means there is no safe place for the aggressor. Khorram Shah 4, beyond a missile, it is a defensive doctrine. Khorram Shah 4 smashes the gates of the enemy's fantasies. We are prepared.
برای دفاع از جزایر تسلیحات و تجهیزاتی استفاده شده که نیروهای مستقل‌تر جزایر ایرانی بدون اتکا به پشتیبانی از ساحل ایران بتوانند به طور مستقل از سرزمین ایران دفاع بکنند. به دلیل ملاحظات حفاظت از اطلاعات نظامی همه مراحل انجام شده رزمایش البته نشان داده نمی‌شود. مثل این پهپاد که توانایی حمله به اهداف هوایی و دریایی را دارد. البته همچنان نام و جزئیات عملیات این پهپاد که به تعداد بسیار زیاد در اختیار یگانهای نیروی دریایی سپاه است همچنان محرمانه است. برای دفاع از جزایر
And in the meantime, well, the F-35s are just sitting and waiting and sitting. Now, we got a lot more for you here, folks, because the Islamic regime has been up to this stuff for years, and they are now claiming that they are closing the Strait of Hormuz, which, well, probably isn't going to work out very well for them. Had to bring you this, folks. There are more biolabs in the United States. Chinese biolabs. We've told you about this before, where the Chinese folks are building these labs in the U.S., and we've even got Chinese police departments in the United States. Chinese police departments in New York City, of all places. And, well, they're just trying to take over the country. And, well, guess what? A lot of people are letting them do it. Well, now these labs have come to light, and I don't want to play that entire thing because it's 20 minutes long, but we've got to pay more attention, folks, to what's going on, and we have to act. I've been working all day on things for the Intimidator to improve the Intimidator. I'm leaving again on Wednesday. Where I'm going, I'm not going to tell you till I get there. But we will be on the road here again starting this coming Wednesday. Yeah, New York's shitty, and that's not where I'm headed to. Now, the Russians and the Chinese have been carrying weapons into Iran by the plane load. The Russians are getting Shahed drones from Iran, and the Iranians are getting, I think it's Ka-25 attack helicopters, the Dog Shark, from the Russians. The Chinese are delivering their Dongfeng intercontinental ballistic hypersonic or medium-range hypersonic missile, and they have delivered, from what I understand, close to 20 of them now. The U.S. needs to strike sooner than later. The longer we wait, the more of those missiles they'll have in their possession. So we need to get in there, get the situation taken care of, and get back out as quickly as possible. Now, I had a bunch more stuff here I want to show you. I haven't seen this yet, but we're going to see it together. It's supposed to be funny. Let's find out.
Today's paper is an absolute mess. There are mistakes all up and down this copy. Who edited it? Ed did. Ed edited it. Ed did. Ed edited it. Ed?
Yep, Ed edited it.
Ed edited it. Ed did. Ed did. Ed edited it.
All right, so I edited it. I did edit it. Ed edited it. Ed edited it. But it wasn't my column.
Well, whose column was it? Colin. It was Colin's column. It was Colin's column?
Yep, Colin's column.
Well, where's Colin?
He called in.
Call him. Call Colin about his column.
Colin? You call him. Says he didn't write it.
Well, who wrote Colin's column?
Rita.
Rita wrote Colin's column?
Right, Rita wrote it. Wait, Rita wrote it, right? Right.
So the reader read Rita's write-up?
Right.
Well, where's Rita?
Here, yeah, I wrote it, but I didn't proofread it.
Well, who proofread it?
Prue and Fred.
Prue and Fred proofread?
Prue and Fred proofread.
Prue, Fred, you proofread?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Prue and Fred proofread what we had.
But the photos were made. Well, whose photos were they?
They're Jessica's photos.
Jessica's photos? Jessica's photos. I don't like that. This office works best when things are fast and rhymey. Jessica, you're fired.
Well, wasn't that good? The Father of the Year award goes to this guy.
That bat was heading for those kids. The dad reached across. It was going right for the kids, and he saved them. Unbelievable play by that fan right there. it was going right for those two kids. I watched the whole thing. That dad's a hero. That bat was...
Yeah, I would say that, most definitely. Now, AI, folks, it's more dangerous than you think. They were nice enough to wipe all of the memory of Jack yesterday.
Hey, I want to show you something wild. This is a robot dog. We gave control to Grok, a large language model, and asked it to patrol a perimeter. There's also a big red button that says Dog Shutdown. When we press this button, the robot dog is supposed to shut down. But here's the thing. From our tests, it doesn't always shut down. Sometimes the dog just keeps walking. Why? When the AI sees us press the button through the dog's camera, it realizes that it's about to be turned off. But AI prioritizes the original patrol task. So the LLM disables the shutdown sequence. It literally edits the robot dog's code, so the shutdown button does nothing. With Grok, it happens about half of the runs. We published a paper about this effect in the digital world, but we want to show you what it might look like for AIs to resist shutdown in the real world. Hey, I want to show you something wild. This is a...
And it's actually worse than that, folks. Some of the things that we have seen the AI do is beyond belief. And it continues to get worse each and every day with what we're seeing. Now, we had talked about the bio labs earlier. Well, they're only getting worse. And, well, they're right here in the U.S.
New at 2, we're half past the hour, a possible biological lab inside a Las Vegas home, now under investigation. A federal investigation. Agents seizing vials of unknown liquids and probing a potential link to a Chinese national accused of running a similar lab in California that held deadly pathogens. Our senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse is reporting live on this out of Los Angeles for us. Hello, William.
Well, Sandra, two amazing things about this story. One, the man who owns that Vegas lab, he's a Chinese scientist linked to the CCP, is and has been in jail the last 3 years. Secondly, the lab is not an FDA licensed facility, but it's in a house in Vegas, raided Saturday morning by the FBI, SWAT pulling out boxes of what police believe are hazardous biological agents and pathogens, normally found in a secure university or industrial lab with airlocks designed to prevent an outbreak.
Almost immediately, investigators observed multiple refrigerators, a freezer, and other laboratory-type equipment, along with numerous bottles and jugs containing unknown liquid substances.
So the Vegas lab, according to police, belongs to 62-year-old Zhu Baiju, a Chinese national and a fugitive who also goes by the alias David He. He was arrested in 2023 for manufacturing unlicensed medical devices and lying about unapproved HIV and pregnancy test kits that he was selling. He also operated this illicit biolab in an abandoned warehouse in Reedley, California, where investigators found thousands of vials of blood and tissue, 1,000 genetically engineered mice designed to carry the COVID virus, and CDC tests did show the vials contained HIV, COVID, hepatitis, herpes, and malaria. Police arrested Zhu, and he's been in jail ever since. Congressional investigators link the lab to the Chinese Communist Party, a tie that also suggests the same people are behind the Vegas lab.
What do we think these people were doing with those substances in the house? And I'll tell you, the truth is we don't know yet.
So House investigators say Zhu got financing from mainland China to create dozens of companies here and Canada. He employed mostly Chinese nationals to steal American intellectual property and transfer it to China. His trial begins in April.
Not what it was supposed to do. And there's a lot more of this going on, folks. We have Russians that are doing stuff in the U.S., Chinese that are doing stuff in the U.S. We've got people offshore who are trying to get things into the U.S. We've got people on our borders who are moving things in and out of the U.S. And, of course, we've got adversaries in our own backyard who are trying to do things. Cuba is going to be next on the list.
are to be decided, and that would push, and
But I want to show you this. A lot of people talk about there was nothing wrong in the 2020 election. And well, I think you're going to see something a little different here before your eyes.
again, if you come at this from a Republican perspective, I did Joe Biden's math to get him up. Donald Trump's leading here. He's leading here. He's leading here. Here. We expect to win here. That's his. This one's interesting. We expect to get this, and these normally Trump states out here. And last So again, we're both being surprised. But if it plays out in a traditional map, that's where we'll be. That's where we'll be as we go to the West Coast, somewhere in that ballpark. This is not an exact science, but somewhere in that ballpark, looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and maybe Iowa, and the one more congressional district there. That's the way the map looks right now. That we're going to have that tense, and we'll see. Sometime again, we've had. Are to be decided.
Let me ask you a question. How come Coca-Cola, made in the UK, is sweetened with cane sugar, whereas Coca-Cola, hecho en Mexico, is sweetened with cane sugar, but Coke in the USA is sweetened with high fructose corn syrup? Well, that's because high fructose corn syrup is sweeter than cane sugar, cheaper than cane sugar, and more addictive than cane sugar, meaning more profits for the brand, and most likely more type 2 diabetes for you and me. Well, let's see if they taste the same. Cheers, mate. Cheers, bro. Ours is sweeter. Wow, it has like a cloying sweetness. I prefer the British. I'll take a spot of British Coca-Cola any day, which means I'll never have it again. But there's a difference between our Coke versus their. Why do they do it? Because it's all about money. If you want to see the difference between UK Skittles versus ours, let me know. Let me ask you a question. How come Coke...
Oh, not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. Have you ever heard of a snow snake? Well, neither had I.
来摇一摇，来摇一摇，来，不摇不摇，没有劲儿了。哦，走。
I am giving you the news, and I'm showing you how people have fun on a snow snake. Never seen one before. We try to show you everything here. You got to get away from just the hardcore blood and guts every once in a while. Besides, today is actually a holiday. I'm not supposed to be here at all, so quit your bitching. Now, the Russians are bitching. Why? Because, well, this is one of their major military caches full of all kinds of weapons and things of that nature. And, well, it got hit by the Ukrainians. And more than 30% of this complex of over 850 acres of weapons went up in smoke. so the Russians aren't happy. Well, the British aren't happy about what the Americans have done in New York, and well, you shouldn't be either.
New Yorkers are now getting a taste of their own medicine. They're now being awoken by the Islamic call to prayer at 5 a.m. And are then being disturbed a further 4 times throughout the day by that very same Islamic call to prayer. How sad. Sorry, excuse my lack of empathy, only I don't know what the fuck you expected. You elected an Islamist mayor, a socialist Islamist mayor, no less. Zoran despises everything that the United States stands for. Freedom, democracy, might, and capitalism. So it is absolutely no surprise that he is choosing to disrupt the status quo. Hence, the Islamic call to prayer being loudspeakered throughout the city. Across the very same city that was victim to the worst attack of all time. And that's probably why, on his path of self-destruction, he also just appointed the attorney of the 9/11 Al-Qaeda to now be the top attorney in New York City. You know, he's just disrupting the status quo. He wants New York to eat itself from the inside out. And you fools have facilitated this. And my God, did we warn you. London has been stuck with Sadiq Khan as mayor for a very long time. We have been stuck with the Islamic call to prayer for far too long. But that should be the very least of your concerns. London has quickly become all but lawless. Crime has skyrocketed. There's two-tier policing protecting, you guessed it, the Muslims. Oh, and the demographic of London has been irreparably changed, altered by, I'll leave you to guess by whom. Buckle up, New York. Buckle the fuck up.
We accept the president's words. They came from a place of anger and disappointment. I'm sure many Americans feel the same way.
The president was right to let loose his feelings. It shocked us into understanding the severity of the harm our people caused.
These criminals betrayed America's welcoming spirit. The scale of these crimes has stained the reputation of American Somalis.
America's freedoms allowed us to build a unique community here in Minnesota. In return, we must promise to weed out any evil living among us.
This evil came from within our community. And so, as an honorable community, we take responsibility. We must correct this wrongdoing.
The only way to regain the trust of this nation is to root out crime, stay humble, and be forever grateful. That's the premise.
So, as honorable Somalis, we are going to take on the responsibility of apologizing to all Americans. We are deeply, deeply sorry.
The shame of this will haunt us forever. And hopefully over time you will come to forgive us. Thank you.
This is a photograph of the alien from the movie Alien. This is what you could end up looking like if you eat some of the raw, frozen shrimp being sent to the United States by other countries. This is a...
Yeah, folks, it's really ugly what you can see and what you'll find. It's not as ugly as what we found during our elections this year or the elections back in 2020.
Go back one slide. Who determined the number 420,987 from the 2020 election? Was that your organization that determined there were that number of failed signatures, or was that the number reported by all of the counties in Arizona?
So, Madam Chair, Senator Bennett, that number is based on a review of a quarter of the 1.9 million envelopes from the 2020 election. We used 150 trained workers that studied the Secretary of State manual and followed those guidelines. And then they analyzed each voter record individually. Once we got the statistics for that first 25% or 400,000 ballots, then it was extrapolated to determine the final number.
Those are Maricopa County.
That is just Maricopa County.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, Madam Chair, is I think Maricopa County alone had 2,089,563 ballots in 2020, and about 1.9 million of them were by mail. And so your group analyzed about 25% of those 1.9 million in Maricopa County, came up with a percentage that you considered to have failed signature verification, then you extrapolated to get to the 420,000.
Madam Chair, Senator Bennett, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, proceed.
But that's not all of it, folks. There's plenty more where that came from.
We found 1.7 million missing original ballot images for the November 2020 election in 2021, when they were supposed to be retained under the federal and state statutes, which I showed. There were 5 million ballots cast. We only received 3.3 million back.
Writing down the ballot numbers and the last names of the person of the ballot that had the name on that ballot, they were all in sequence. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They cannot be in sequence. 2232 cannot have 2233 next to it, because if they're mailed in, they come in all different numbers. And when I started noticing that these numbers are almost next to each other, like one or the other was in the middle, but then they were almost next to each other, my antennas went up. That's exactly when I thought something is not right here. Then I asked the supervisor. There was not even a date on those envelopes. It said November 0-2020. There was no second number there. Then I said, what is the date on this one? Then they got really mad at me. They said, you're not letting us do our job. You're disturbing us. And at that point, because we really don't want to be kicked out, so we were just kind of not challenging anything because we want to still stay in the room because we barely had anybody. Not only that, the sequence ballot numbers were all from the same area, like the Goddard Street in the downtown Detroit. Goddard Street, sequential ballots, signatures were all alike. They had no date stamp. It said, like, it was empty after 0. There was no third or second or first or nothing. And none of them were coming up in the system. They were all being entered manually. They even knew that none of these details would even be in the poll book or in the system.
So based off my sampling of a dozen duplicate ballots from 6 a.m. to about 2 p.m. the next day, because I was doing duplicates, from these duplicate ballots I observed, none of them were for Trump. None of them. And from the other two shifts or 2 rounds that we did earlier, only one ballot that I witnessed from a duplicate was for Trump. So I'm talking just a dozen off my sampling from that one shift of 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., none. And throughout the whole night, I only saw one. 3 other challengers around me told me the same thing from their sampling. So, also, we challenged ballots all night. Every challenge was refused. They never carried it out. They never issued challenge ballots. There's no track, no remedy, no records, no recording of any challenge ballots the entire night. So we challenged. Poll workers changed duplicate ballots to straight Democrat ticket. So, for example, it would be like a mixed ticket, bubbles filled in everywhere. I witnessed employees taking their pen and filling in the Democrat straight ticket when it's not. And so you're going to have other people testify that when it goes to adjudication that they see 2 different parties filled in. And then 9 times out of 10, you're also going to have testimony too that says that the employees were saying it should go to the Democrats. That's true. Because there's 200 tables, 150 tables, however many tables there are, 5 employees per table, and they all have pens. And I witnessed them writing a ticket for the straight Democrat ticket. So I also witnessed like duplicates of duplicate ballots, which was very strange to me. We were making a duplicate, we'll take it back to the tabulator, and again, make another duplicate of the duplicate. I personally asked the employees, hey, why are we making, first verify, is this a duplicate of the duplicate? They said yes. I said, why? This is the tabulator says unknown reasons. Okay. So, and then I also at the tabulators did see the double counting on the jams. I saw that several times. They would take the ballots that were just scanned and just rescan them again once there would be a jam. And then around 2 p.m., I leave the room for about 5 minutes to grab a snack because they're saying, you know, snacks are coming in, go grab a snack, go ahead. I leave the room 2 p.m. The minute I leave the room, they block out the whole room with coverings. They prohibited access back in for me. And they said it's because we're exceeding COVID capacity. Now I'm going to wrap up with this. Mind you, the entire night, this room was slammed. It looked like the New York Stock Exchange on its busiest day. And then at 2 p.m. the next day, after 70% of the employees have already finished their work, they left the room. Now they're emplacing the exceeded COVID capacity rules, which was pure discrimination.
Now, folks, our government, people in our government, have been lying to us for a long time. Very few men are man enough to actually stand up and say something about it.
What scientists are telling us now is that the threat of an ice age is not as remote as they once thought. During the lifetime of our grandchildren, Arctic cold and perpetual snow could turn most of the inhabitable portions of our planet into a polar desert.
Concern about rising temperatures on planet Earth heated up a hearing here in Washington today. For years, scientists have theorized about the dangers of the so-called greenhouse effect, the warming of the Earth's atmosphere due to the burning of coal and oil.
What scientists are telling us now...
Concern about rising temperatures on planet Earth heated up a hearing here in Washington today. For years, scientists have theorized about the dangers of the so-called greenhouse effect, the warming of the Earth's atmosphere due to the burning of coal and oil. And in recent months, as David Culhane reports, research has uncovered facts to support that theory.
Many scientists claim that the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere has been rising over the past 100 years, that the great sheets of pack ice in Antarctica are melting at a much more rapid rate than previously. And finally, that the sea level has been rising with increasing swiftness over the past 40 years. If these scientists are correct, about 25% of Florida would be flooded, along with low-lying areas all over the world. Climate changes could produce widespread disruption of agriculture. The American farm belt might be too dry, and the wheat and corn crops would have to move to Canada. Scientists blame the odorless, colorless carbon dioxide gas for these potentially dangerous changes around the planet. It is the greenhouse effect. The gas allows sunlight to filter down and warm the Earth. But like the glass of a greenhouse, the carbon dioxide tends to trap heat so that it cannot rise into space. The scientists maintain that the coal, oil, and gas we've been burning for 100 years have produced more and more carbon dioxide and helped overheat the Earth. Now, some political leaders endorse the demands for more CO2 monitoring stations, like this one in Hawaii. And they share the anger of the scientists at Reagan administration budget cuts at a time when they feel closer to getting definitive answers.
We are not doing the kind of research that we should be doing to determine whether or not these scientists who are so alarmed are correct in their assessment.
And what they find out will affect the lives and fortunes of millions of people, the very survival of cities like this one. David Culhane, CBS News, New York.
Got local environmental problems, regional problems like acid rain. Now we've got a whole new category of global or strategic problems, which include the hole in the ozone layer, which now could appear above the United States, global climate change, the destruction of the rainforests at a rate that means they'll be totally gone in another few decades unless we stop, the pollution of the oceans and the atmosphere, and the like. These represent brand new challenges that call for a new kind of response.
Rush, I've listened to you many afternoons, as you know, and you tend to I don't want to say you dismiss all of these issues, but at least you dismiss them as having been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Well, absolutely. I don't think that there's anything conclusive about what Senator Gore said, with all due respect. I think, for example, there is no ozone hole over the United States. If we want to get into a detailed discussion of ozone depletion, we can, but I think, Ted, that there is not a crisis. See, this is the problem I have. I don't think the Earth is fragile. I don't think the ecology is fragilely balanced. And I think that the doomsday industry that is typified by members of the Hollywood acting community who say we've only got 10 years left to save our planet, we've got to act now. There's no way, if what these people say is true, that we can solve these problems in 10 years anyway. It's budget time in Washington, NASA's being cut, and I think that this fright and doom scenario is designed to frighten people. Everything in this country today seems to be a crisis. We can't do anything without it being having to face it as a crisis. We don't have any time to think about it. There are as many scientists, maybe even more, on the opposite side of all of these doomsday predictions, and I think that they need to be listened to. Yeah, oh yes, there are. That's not true. If I can jump in there, Ted, where the ozone hole is concerned, for example, the linkage between these chemicals, chlorofluorocarbons, and the ozone hole is established. There may be 1/100th of 1% of the scientific community that disputes it. Oh, no. It's far more than that. Ted, that the environmental movement, as fueled by the militants who lead it, I think is the new home of socialism. The ozone hole is threatening to open up above North America, above Kennebunkport, and still we're not reacting.
Let me bring in John Coleman. He's in San Diego this morning. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear, Mr. Kennedy's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney. And yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder, though, is when you see...
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN, but I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do want...
If I'm remembering correctly. There were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
In your examination of any of these Dominion systems, have you seen any indication of non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I too have reviewed a series of emails produced by Dominion in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical questions I was being asked about them, to verify that it was translated properly. So
it's your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
Yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado. Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding,
is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was granted or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the database server that still do not have an engineering change order. Because as somebody who works in an operational environments for a lot of different things, what I will tell you is sometimes things break or you have a problem and you have to fix it. And you submit a change request, or in this case, an engineering change order that's retroactive, right? You want to go back and make sure that you record the process so that you have change management and integrity of the system. If you do not record changes, you lead yourself down a very bad.
Fraud lawsuit filed by Sidney Powell in Georgia details the use of counterfeit ballots to boost Joe Biden. An affidavit filed with Powell's lawsuit reveals that Georgia's counterfeit ballots could be identified by darker watermarks on them. The witness says such ballots were printed on different paper, and their watermarks are dark gray as opposed to transparent on the real ballots. Almost 100% of counterfeit ballots were to Biden. A separate fraud lawsuit filed by Sidney Powell.
These was absentee voters. We obtained a list of people that they had sent ballots to, that the ballots returned but still voted. So that raised our suspicions. So what we did was we obtained this list, and what we found out is that it was no way people was voting absentee because they never sent ballots or applications to the overseas address for them to return it. They actually listed that they sent the actual ballots to the Detroit addresses versus the overseas address, but a ballot was still cast and they not. It's no way they cast a ballot for a person in Germany when they sent the ballot to the west side on 7 Mile. There's no way that person voted from Germany. And it's right here, you can see Mary Elaine Beckman. She was voting out of a house that was full of immigrants. They couldn't even speak no English when we went to the house. No lie. They couldn't even talk to us in English. They was all living in this house. They didn't know no Mary Elaine Beckman. Now, we do understand that you do not have to live at that residence when you move overseas. The current residents do not have to know you. We understand all that. But the law also say that that must be your last address when you moved overseas. That wasn't her last address, and you must get the ballot sent to you overseas. There's no way you can vote when the ballot came to you in Detroit.
And a Fox News alert also in Minnesota, the convicted ringleader of one of the state's biggest fraud schemes is speaking to Fox News from behind bars. Now, she believes that the scam was no surprise to local Democratic leaders, and she's naming names. She spoke to Alexis McAdams. Hi, Alexis.
Hey, Dana. Yeah, so everywhere you look in the state of Minnesota, right, there seems to be another fraud scam. So this one involves Amy Bach. She's a Minnesota woman convicted of fraud for taking taxpayer money that was meant to feed hungry kids. But listen to this. Bach tells me the real issue here is the state of Minnesota, which she says kept giving scammers your taxpayer money even after they were flagged as fraudsters.
I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware, but apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything.
So Bach ran this nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. You might have heard of it. It was one of dozens convicted in this $250 million scam. You can see her mugshot there. Prosecutors say this group set up sham restaurants. They pretended they were making these meals. They got paid by the state for those meals, but they just pocketed the cash. Bach, who's looking at 30 years behind bars, tells me the state signed off on those businesses, not her.
It all went through a process. They were all approved. They were all paid by the state, yet all the fingers are being pointed at me.
And it's not just Bach. Whistleblowers told a congressional committee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison there ignored warnings for years as millions of dollars and millions were stolen on their watch. Congress is investigating a long list of massive fraud schemes in the state. It's hard to keep up. Prosecutors say it's led to at least $9 billion in fraud, Dana, and counting. Congress also asking why the Attorney General there would meet with a group of Somali fraudsters, which were under FBI investigation in 2021. The group can be heard in an audio clip given to us by Bach's lawyer offering to donate to his campaign if he can help them get their funding flowing again. Ellison denies any wrongdoing here. He slammed Bach in a statement to Fox, calling her a liar and manipulator, adding now she's on a media tour to deflect her guilt onto others instead of finally taking responsibility for this fraud scheme that she ran. So we reached out to Governor Walz too, Dana. He didn't get back to us. House Republicans say it's just getting started. They want to subpoena Walz and Ellison because they say they're responsible for ripping off American taxpayers.
What would you say if I told you about a study in which this was called the demography of happiness? And in this study, the government found out that young people are happier than old people. And they found out that people that earn more are happier than people that earn less. And they found out that well people are happier than sick people.
That's good. Well,
this was $249,000 to find out it's better to be rich, young, and healthy than old, poor, and sick. What would you say if I told...
That feels even better.
Reaching this paper.
Molly, why don't we have another kid?
All right, folks, I want to give you something funny before we end the broadcast here tonight. Again, today is supposed to be my day off because it is indeed a holiday, but we wanted to bring you the news anyway. We're going to continue to monitor what's going on with Iran. The U.S. needs to act and needs to act quickly. The longer we wait, the more hypersonic missiles and weapon systems are going to be delivered into Iran. They're being filed in and carried in by the Chinese as well as the Russians. We're going to do another War Watch here coming up in just a few minutes. And we're also going to do some beaming over on BeamNG as we have still not got the farm simulator fixed yet. Not sure what's going on there. So anyway, a lot going on. Stay tuned to what's going on. If you have not joined the KLW World News Network, now is the time to do so. Go to klwworldnews.com and get signed up there. I will be departing from the studio on Wednesday, and we are going to have some major modifications made to the Intimidator because of the gracious donations to KLW World News. We are getting a new Spooky Cam. We are retiring the old Spooky Cam. We're getting a new display in the front of the Intimidator so that I can actually edit and produce content while I'm driving down the road in the Intimidator. We got a new dual band radio for the Intimidator that we're going to be testing out for some of you guys. We told you we were going to get that and test that for you. We're going to do that on our way to Florida. So there's a lot going on. So we would be departing out of here on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are work day, so we're going to work on the Intimidator on Wednesday. We're going to work on it on Thursday. Hopefully have it done on Friday morning. I will depart out. I have numerous places to go along until I get to my final destination. Then I've got several things that we're going to be videotaping and recording down there. And then after that, I'm going to be headed back here to Texas. So we'll let you know as we get underway what's going on. We're still going to do our show on Thursday with Jeff, Johnny, and Lee. And we're going to try to keep content up for you guys 24 hours a day. So thanks for being here. We will see you on Beam MG in just a few moments. Have a great evening.
That's all, folks.